What up, though, One Pride? This is the Roar of the Lions UK podcast, the podcast where One Pride goes worldwide. My name is Anthony Fitzpatrick. I'm joined by Ryan McCluskey, which can only mean one thing. It is time for the college football podcast. All stars or no stars? Ryan, we are 24 days away from week zero. The college football season is nearly upon us once more. The long wait is nearly over. I don't know about you, but I'm ready. I'm ready for some college football again, and we don't have too far to go.
It does. To me, it feels there's been no break. It feels like it gets shorter and shorter each time, even if it doesn't get any change at all. But now, I am definitely happy. NFL preseason just stresses me out. Frankly, I hate every second of it. It fills me with anxiety. But college football on the horizon, like you say, it just, yeah, I can't wait for it. Like I said, this year is it's going to be a groundbreaking year with the expanded playoff. Like I said, this year we will see things we've never seen, and we're going to have the biggest crescendo that college football's ever seen that will rival the BCS bowl era.
Exactly, like the conference realignments, we're down to nine. There's so much different this year. 12 teams, who's going to get in, which conferences are going to be favored for the playoffs. These are questions that are going to be answered over the next 4 or 5 months when we get there. But as I say, we are almost there. We are 3 weeks away. So what do we have on the docket for you today? So apologize we weren't here last week. I've just been very busy with bits recently. We will be finishing our Sunbelt preview next week, getting that all done and dusted. And as you've probably heard, 24 days to go until the season. And there are a lot of conferences we've not done, so we're not going to be able to do the traditional previews in the normal sense. But I've got all week off work next week, so we're going to be hard at work bringing you as many shows as we can before the season starts to get you as up to date with everything as possible. We got a load of guests lined up. And we've got our preseason predictions shows, which are going to be great. So you're going to see a lot from us in the next few weeks as we work our way up to the season. But tonight, first, we're going to take a look at preseason media polls. We love them. Everybody loves them. This is where the media give their view on what is going to happen during the season. They assign points to who they think is going to finish in first place, who the potential teams for the championships might be. So me and Ryan are going to take a look through 7 of them, at least for now. The ACC haven't fully released theirs yet, and the Sun Belt we're going to tie into next week's preview show so we can give it a bit of context when we've gone through all 14 Sun Belt teams and then see what the media think and then see what me and Ryan think. So there's 7 of them we're going to have a look through today, and then we're going to do our teams to watch for the college football season. So last year we did it for the first time. We picked players at all positions, basically either a mixture of guys that we really like, guys we think are draft sleepers. There's no criteria really, just names for you to watch out for during the season. Last year, like Ryan mentioned, Max Melton, who came to prominence, went in round 2, the Rutgers DB. I talked about Ashton Giante, who's been talked about as a top 5 running back in college football this year. He was number 2 behind George Halani at Boise State at the start of last season. So these names, they're going to be household before you know it. So check out the guys we think you should look at this season. Let's just get all the housekeeping out the way first before we dive down into this. Royal Lions UK Discord, if you want in on that, let us know. We will fire you across a link for it. Don't forget to like us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, all that good stuff online, all those subscriptions and that help. We really, really appreciate it. Don't forget about Lions Nation Unite, Herman Moore's pet project to bring together the best in Lions content creators in YouTube. And don't forget we're monetized and all that good stuff as well. So if you want to help us that way, great. But we just love having you all in the building. And the Lions main podcast was yesterday. We talked about training camp. So if you've not checked that out, go check that out. And we also did some tape review on Terry and Arnold, the Detroit Lions first round draft pick. It's all good stuff. So go check that out if you get an opportunity to. Right, we're going to dive straight down into college stuff, straight to business. This is a recorded show today, so I will be in the chat as always. If you've got any questions, I will chat along with you as we do this. But Matt's at the cinema tonight, and my stream is not quite up to date, still being able to get the sorted. So yeah, we're recording it. But questions, anything, let us know. We will get them answered for you. So, right, we're going to talk about pre-season media polls first. So for those who don't know, beginning of every season, you do preseason media days for each conference, basically representatives from every team, head coaches, players, etc. One big day where they all come together, the media get to question them, etc. And the media release, between them as a group, their predictions for the teams they think are going to do well in the year. They grade them, give them first place votes, and then they're all tallied up, and then the teams are basically given a ranking as to where the media thinks they are going to finish. And I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's pointless. A lot of things can change, but it's content to talk about. So let's have a look, see what the media are thinking about the conferences this season. Let's start with the big boys first, because we don't talk about the Power Four much at the moment, but we'll start in the SEC. And so, overwhelming favorites to win the SEC this year, Georgia, 165 first place votes there, but very interesting as to the teams behind. So the other teams who got votes, second place via the media, the Texas Longhorns, winners of the Big 12, moving across to the SEC. This is their first season in the conference. Media think they're going to finish second. They're going to be in a title game. Because don't forget, no conference, no divisions in the SEC this year. Best two teams win. Alabama were in third with 12 votes. Ole Miss were in fourth with 4 votes. LSU were in fifth with 2 votes. Now, 2 other teams got votes. The number 13th ranked South Carolina Gamecocks got 1 vote. And I feel like this is kind of tongue-in-cheek, but bottom of the conference ranked Vanderbilt got 2 votes. I feel like that is a little bit of a cheery vote there. But in terms of how it goes down, so you've got Georgia, Texas, Bama, Ole Miss, LSU as your top 5. Then you've got Missouri, Tennessee, Oklahoma at 8, Texas A&M at 9, Auburn at 10, Kentucky 11, Florida 12, South Carolina 13, Arkansas 14, Miss State 15, Vanderbilt 16. Bold predictions, right? What do you feel about the media in the SEC here? Texas getting their first year, Georgia returning to their domineering ways after falling from power. What would you make of those predictions there?
I mean, they're very low on LSU, aren't they? Like you say, and you think about it, they've still got Mason Taylor, one like you say the ever producing tight ends that's like coming through, and Garrett Snowsmire, to be fair, was pretty good in the absence of Jane Daniels. I think he'll be one of the better quarterbacks in the nation. Still got Harold Perkins, but the loss of like say neighbours, Brian Thomas, they're gonna have to get someone to step up receiver. Not many first place votes for them, despite plenty of talent still. And then yeah, if you're gonna use a vote, use it properly. Don't be silly and give them a Vanderbilt. But I do like to see Ole Miss getting first place votes because, like I say, my bold prediction was that Ole Miss made the SEC title game, wasn't it? And
It was,
I am
yeah.
riding on that train. But yeah, I suppose you look at Texas. They had a running back last year, running back 2 that could have been running back 1. Like I say, a lot are still on Quinn Ewers, going to be that first round quarterback this coming ball. Archman can step in, plenty of talent coming off, like I say, riding high. Interesting. I'm surprised, like you say, that Alabama's not second. We saw flashes last year of Jalen Milroe. Think he has got the it factor. It's just a lack of consistency. Like you say, he could well win the Heisman this year, but like I say, could miss out on an SEC title game. It feels like it could be those things. And then yeah, some interesting like Kentucky. I like what Kentucky have done in the offseason. Like I say, I actually like the move of Brock Vandagriff, the former Georgia 5-star QB. Like I say, 1 or 2 years left, but I think they could be quite a bit of a dark horse. They've still got Barry and Brown, one of the best returners and special team receivers in the league. Like I said, I'll talk about when I play as well. I kind of like what the Wildcats have been doing. So I think they're being slept on a little bit. And Miss State, well, they've lost one of the greatest quarterbacks in statistical collegiate history, in Will Rogers. So yeah, I've got a feeling that will be kind of hard to overcome. So yeah, I understand things like that.
Yeah, and Arkansas at the 14 out of
Yeah.
16. That's Sam Pittman
They have
losing his
been
job
rinsed, aren't they? Like I
very
say, Dwight
quickly.
McGlovern gone to draft, lost KJ, lost
He's
loads of
gone.
talent. It's going to be hard
Lost,
this year.
yeah, lost Rocket Sanders. They have suffered some severe losses. It's Taylor Green under center there this year, the Boise State guy. So like big pressure for him. But
Yep.
See, I think A&M are getting slept on. I have a big obsession with Connor Weissman,
Good
number
quarterback.
9. Yeah, but you look at the D line, you've got Walter Nolan, you've got Nick Scowerton, who's there is like that D line could be punishing this year. If they can just find a good semblance of an offense, I think A&M are going to finish a lot higher than I think. They're going to be my dark horse guys there. But yeah, I think overall, it's not too bad. Missouri, Tennessee, Oklahoma in there. We'll see. But I think the SEC is one of the better ones going forward. So we will move on from there. And next up, I'll just go in the order I've got them in because I've got separate screens here. Yeah, I'm going to have to do this to you, and I apologize because we talked about this on air, but we're going to talk about the Big 12 now, the revamped Big 12. So 16 teams in it this year. And in terms of first place votes, who they think is going to win, don't know if this is a surprise or not, but number one is Utah, the Utes. They think Carl Whittingham,
Yeah.
however long he's in that job for, they get 20 first place votes. They are in number one there, and they have them facing off against Kansas State, very close behind with 19 first place votes in second. And then Oklahoma State, sorry, have 14 first place votes. They're in third position. Other teams to get votes are Kansas in fourth with 5 and Arizona in fifth with 3. So you've got Utah and K-State there, the media prediction right, with Oklahoma State, Kansas, and Arizona on the periphery. What do you make there? Do you think the Utes are gonna adapt to life that quickly in the Big 12?
No, because their quarterback situation. I just think the ship has set sailed on Cam. And like you said, if Jaquin and Jackson hit the portal, he's gone. Like you say, I think he went to Arkansas, didn't he?
Possibly, yeah. I think
I
so.
think he did, yeah. But yeah, they've lost a lot of talent. Like you say, Varkey. I see a lot. I see Brent Kufi still in Jordan like top 5 rankings every year. And I just think, no, because I've not seen the consistency yet. He's not an elite tight end. But for me, I just have questions all over the roster. And like last year, very disappointing. Like you say, Arizona. I would love to think, like say, they can make the move over and instantly, like say, with one of my favorite quarterbacks in the nation, Noah Fafita, and maybe the best or second best receiver in the nation, to Torrey McMillan. They have got a 1-2 combo could to rival anybody. And we saw how big a 1-2 combo for Missouri was last year with Burden and Cook. These two can do it here. But the disrespect to a team that we've not named, and everyone else on Twitter, I love, and I think he's one of the darkest playoff contenders. Where are the Cyclones?
Oh, you've got my hot take here. I love this. So actually, the
I've
Cyclones
got
are
one of their
next.
players to watch. Like, say, where are they?
I do. The Cyclones are sixth, so they are just so they do believe that they're going to be up there. I mean, you've got the Bectical, like he's coming into his second year. He's one of the best players in the league. I love him. But I agree with you. Like all over their defense, this guy's like, I like you, I like you, I like you, I like
Kansas
you.
State, I'm
On
not
offense,
sure. Like, say, losing Will Howard is huge. He got to jump up. I know Avery Johnson looked really good in short things. It's going to be
yeah.
interesting to see like how he does. A lot of people are really raving about him.
So you look at the strength and depth of this. So let's say you got Utah,
I think
K-State,
the Big
Oklahoma
12,
State.
me, is going to be the best conference this
Yeah,
year. Top to
yeah.
bottom, we know who's bottom, like I say, everyone's seen it. But like I say, the difference between the middle, it's not that hard. Like, and there's not that big gaps.
No. So, like I say, you've got Utah, K-State, Oklahoma State, Kansas, and Arizona in the top 5. But then the next 5, you got Iowa State, you got West Virginia, who got hot under Neil Brown
Garrett
last year.
Green,
Yeah, Garrett Green, they got hot last year. They got great running backs, great offensive line. Then you've got UCF, who now have KJ Jefferson at the helm, and that fierce offense they've got. Then you've got Texas Tech at 9. The Red Raiders are good on their day. TCU are just 1 year away from the playoffs, removed, getting better there. Then you go to 11, you've got Colorado, 12 Baylor, 13 BYU, 14 Cincinnati, 15 Houston. And I think this is really disrespectful, but 16 is Arizona State, Ryan's own Sun Devils. But even you look down at the bottom, like Arizona State, Houston, Cincy, BYU, Baylor,
Baylor got some
Colorado,
good talent. Like I say, yeah,
they
there's
can beat anyone on their day. This is shows the strength and depth of the Big 12.
yeah, I would have not wanted to predict the Big 12. Like you say, Colorado down there, and I know I don't like them, and I know I don't like Deion Sanders, but wouldn't it be such a Buffalo's thing to go win the Big 12? And then
Hmm.
Deion Sanders is the cockiest man alive on Twitter. and Shador Sanders is going like first overall in the draft. I would hate
Oh,
it. It would be the worst thing to happen at college football in a long time, but it's not beyond the realms of possibility, and that
yeah.
bothers me. But yeah, it's pretty wild, is the Big 12.
Yeah, I smile. I get excited. Like you see Arizona, how good they were last year. Kansas, we know how good they've become, in recent years. Iowa State, West Virginia. I'm just like, oh my God, there's just so much talent here. I like the Big 12. I think I'll focus on a ton this year because the teams are that good. But again, yeah, I'm with you. I'm not sure Utah are up there first, but it's that defense. That defense can win a championship on its own. That's probably why they are so big up there. But yeah, I'm with you. Iowa State, they are the dark horses to be monitored. Right, let's move it on to the few to go. And we go from the Big 12 to the Big 10. Now, very intriguing here because only two teams registered first place votes in the preseason media poll. So again, no divisions in the Big Ten this year. It's all one big smorgasbord. Best two teams go through, and the two teams with first place votes, right? The first team got 21, the second place got Oregon, and by number at the top is Ohio State, and number two is Oregon making the move over from the Pac-12, which they couldn't win, coming immediately over to the East Coast and putting one over on everybody going there. But Ohio State overwhelming favorites against Oregon. No one else gets first place points. Do you see that realistically being the title game come December or late November?
No. Now, don't get me wrong, I think Oregon are a good project, but the fact I look at Dylan Gabriel and I just think good quarterback, safe. Just play it too safe. Like you say, he flattered to deceive at Oklahoma multiple times, despite having plenty of talent around him. Same thing's going to happen here. I kind of like the Will Howard move. I feel like that's a good step up. And like you say, is this the year where Brandon Inniss, those big star receiver names, finally they've got like breathing room because everyone's gone, but big shoes to fill. But like I said, they've got some talent in secondary players. They've still got Jack Sawyer on the edge. They've got plenty of talent. Those like, and then like I said, I know the team. Everyone like I say is going to be upset it's not there, but that's because who the hell is the
Rotation.
Michigan quarterback?
Yeah, exactly. It's just
I have
sheer.
no idea who's going to win the job, and when you don't have any idea who the starter's going to be, or you're not sure, you
Mm,
can't predict them to win the division, can you? Like it's impossible.
no,
They
that's
like I say, they could go out there and defend their title. Like I say,
yeah.
with unknown entities, like I say, one, like I said, it's what mini controversy, head coach, like what's going on again, like kind of investigation, potential players, like I say, sure, they've got running back.
Yeah.
Like I said, they won't lose a skip a beat in that thing, but like I say, and it's got Will Johnson, like I say, he's
We got
predicted
the
one of the
best
best
two
corners in the whole
DTs in
nation.
college football. They'll be
Yeah.
big.
Still give me Ohio State,
Yeah.
Michigan title game.
Yeah, I'm with you. You need to sort out the situation.
Michigan will sort it out. They just have to sort it out pretty quickly and settle on a starter.
Ohio State's all about that defense. Does that come good at last? Because like you don't worry about the receivers. They got Ibuka this year. You've got Jeremiah Smith, the five-star true freshman, coming in who's expected to start day one. He's like the next biggest thing at wide receiver in all of college football. He'll probably get 1,000 yards this year. So that's fine. It's just like their D line is so highly rated, and I look at it and I'm like, you've been completely and utterly annihilated by Michigan the last few years. How's your D line getting so much love? But maybe it comes together for them this year. So let's see, you've got Ohio State and Oregon at 1 and 2. The following group afterwards, and this is very interesting. So you've got Penn State at 3, not going down that role again. Thank you, Drew Aller, and you guys. But it is his second year. He is a year in. Maybe it is their turn. You got Michigan at 4. You've got the Iowa Hawkeyes at 5, despite conferences,
With Cade McNamara.
despite divisions going, they've still got them as 5th there. Then you've got USC at 6, Wisconsin at 7. Under there, anyway, you got Dylan Raiola in Nebraska at 8, but he's brand new, true freshman rookie QB. Rutgers at 9. Rutgers getting their love. Washington, the Natty championship contenders, all the way down at 10. Maryland at 11. Minnesota 12. Illinois 13. Northwestern 14. UCLA all the way down in 15th behind the likes of Northwestern and Minnesota. Teams just don't like the media, don't like UCLA whatsoever. Then the bottom three, you got Michigan State, Jonathan Smith, Indiana, And then Purdue, which I feel is incredibly rotten for the Boilermakers. I don't think they deserve that, especially when Rutgers have Athon Kalliot-Manis starting for them at number 9. But intriguing, the group behind Penn State, Michigan, Iowa, USC, Wisconsin, Nebraska. Like, are they going to, these teams are going to have to break out now. The Wisconsins, the Nebraskas. It's Dylan Ryle this year. Does he make a big impression right away? Wisconsin, second year with their head coach. Is he going to, it's rule? Are they going to do it? I don't know. What do you think of the chasing pack? I feel like this is the weird one where there's a lot of ones that don't make sense here.
Yeah, this just feels like they've shut their eyes and just thrown like darts at a dartboard. Like technically, like say why technically USC so low? Like say because like say then is it Mac Miller? Like say so they think they've got their start. Like say they've got loads of talent. They've still got the best receivers in the nation. Is it the fact they don't think they'll travel well with such large differences? Is it their coaching? We know it's going to be a defense. We know Big Ten is primarily defensive football, wins a lot of games. Is that where USC let themselves down? Because it has been in the past. So interesting. Like say Iowa, I know why they're still there because of the defense. I'll talk about their defenders. They've still got two of the best defensive backs in the nation, and two actually to keep an eye on in next year's draft. Could get taken very well higher, but I'm sorry, I'm just not buying any Cade Love. Their quarterback play and everything, he just stank this year. They got hurt, but I just don't see it getting any better under Kirk Ferentz or whoever was under center. But I say Nebraska recruited really well. Like I say, they've got some good talent. Is this their time? Also, they've got a really good coach at this
Yeah.
level. Is this the year like something clicks with no divisions? Wisconsin, I suppose their head coach, he ain't getting any younger. If he's going to make a move, it's got to be now. Like I said, they've just lost Braylon Allen, but they've still got one of the best safeties. Hunter Wall, like I said, they got a guy that's
One of the
a
best
stud.
corners in the
Yeah.
country.
Ricardo Holman. They got some absolute studs on defense. Does it all click for them this year? Like I said, depending on the center. So yeah, odd bunch. Minnesota being that high. I'm sorry, PJ Fleckball wants to make me poke my own eyes out. It's awful.
I know, and UCLA are behind them. Like
Yeah.
UCLA, you talk about defense. That's what UCLA. They had one of the best defenses in the nation last year, and like the same reasons with USC coming across. They're sixth. I know UCLA lost their head coach and they've had a few issues in that, but surely they're not going to be that bad in the Big Ten.
Could Rutgers shock this year? Like say, good injection of talent, young talent. Like
It's Calliot Manis, isn't it? Like it lives and dies. Is he going to become it? Like was Minnesota the problem
yeah,
with
we're gonna
him?
find out if it's them or
Yeah,
him.
yeah. Like, because again, like that Rutgers defense, I stayed away from that in mind because I thought you'll probably end up dipping into that well of Rutgers
Or Indiana.
defenders.
Yeah. Indiana,
Um,
like Hoosiers football right now is struggling. And like you say, they get no love.
I know, second, and they got Kurt Signet. They bought tons of. I mean, we talked about James Madison last week and all their players who've come up. I mean, I know
Yeah.
the group of 5 players, but highly talented players. Like, it's
Maybe
not.
this is a good thing to have no pressure, like you say, they
Yeah,
could shock people. Maybe they don't want spotlight on them.
no. And then Michigan State, they've taken the cream of the crop from Oregon State. Like, I think the tight end had like 6 touchdowns last year who's come across. You've got Childs, who's a legitimately better quarterback than anything they've had in forever. Like, I feel like they're getting disrespected as well. I don't think they're going to be great, but not third in the Big Ten bad. But who knows? Maybe it takes time for his thing to come to fruition there. But yeah, the Big Ten, certainly that's the one where a lot of talking is done. So that's 3 of the Big Four. As I say, the ACC have not done theirs yet. So we'll move on to the Power Four in this case, because we'll leave the Sun Belt for next week. So first we've got the American up. So we've got 4 teams who've had first place votes to win the American. Obviously, last year it was SMU who won it, but they've moved to the AAC now. So that is a vacant title to go and win. Number 1 with 23 first place votes, first by miles, is Memphis. And then at number 2 with 4 votes, you've got UTSA, who finished second. Obviously, they finished third last year. It was all done on tie breaks, but 2 CUSAs in a row, third place in their first year in the American. They're on a good roll. And then you've got Tulane in third with 2 first place votes. And then in fifth, you've got 1 first place vote for the brand new Army Black Knights, who are ranked fifth in the America. Now, I didn't like congratulations, Brent. I didn't know you were in the national media now, but I know that's where the votes come from for Army. But congrats to you, and come on our show, please. We'll have your media credentials and all that. But yeah, so we've got potentially Memphis and UTSA. Now, Memphis has been banging on the door for a while now. They've been a good team, kind of just sidetracked by 1 year really good teams that they've not been able to both do. And then you've got UTSA Tulane, and then you've got South Florida Bulls in fourth. So Alex Golesh, job he's done there has been tremendous. I feel like that top four is a very representative sample of what it might look like this year.
Yeah, you could kind of shut your eyes and pick those top four in any order, and you wouldn't be too disappointed with the outcome. Army's interesting. Like I say, how do they adjust to life? Like I say, in division, like I say, and how they've been preparing to stop the pass. Like I say, we know how stout in the trenches they are and how they can make nightmare for any team that wants to try to run the ball on them. How will they do, like I say, facing an entire schedule in a conference against teams that might want to throw the ball on them? That is where it'll be their Achilles heel, won't it?
Yeah.
Passing and defending the pass. And those things take time and take practice, but they're incredibly gritty. They caused some big upsets. They gave a lot of teams last year a lot of trouble. And we know for a fact that a lot of teams will probably underestimate them, disrespect them, and they will get upset. So Army right now, I don't have them as title contenders, but I have them as like party poopers. They will cause some potential upsets this year.
Kind of like an Air Force in the Mountain West type thing. Like you don't really want to play them, but you can beat them on the day if you want to. So, which is interesting because the other service team, Navy, are all the way down in 11th, and Navy have been the team in the conference for long enough who've adapted to it.
Since losing the
So,
head coach, like I said, they've kind of been on a tailspin, haven't they?
yeah, it
Since Ken
is.
went.
So you got Memphis, UTSA, Tulane, South Florida. Again, love the Alex Golesh love there, and then Army as the top five. After that, you've got Florida Atlantic, East Carolina, who had a terrible year last year in seventh, joint with Rice, who had a decent year. Then you got North Texas in nine, UAB, Trent Dilfer in 10th. Then you've got Navy, Tulsa, Charlotte. So they don't like the job Biff Poggi's doing, but he shouted at them last year, so maybe that's not surprising. Then all the way at the bottom of Temple. EJ Warner's gone now. They don't like Temple no more because EJ Warner's gone, which I guess maybe he was way too big for that team, I guess. Maybe they're going to struggle without him, but I don't know. Like Tulsa have been good in recent years. Charlotte have been okay. Temple, they don't like some of these teams at the bottom. It's surprising.
No, the Golden Wave in recent years have, like I say, put together some really good years. Had some really good individual players. Temple, like I say, they didn't really like them when they had Warner. They really don't like them without him. I'm guessing they kind of must predicate everything they had was built around him.
Yeah,
So yeah, some very interesting teams, like I say. And is it Florida Atlantic? There's some kind of like say those teams in there that kind of just tread water every year. But yeah, certainly interesting how they've ranked them. But yeah, there's a lot of teams here that could really just fly under the radar and surprise someone this year.
exactly. I would love USF to do it. Sorry, I would love them. So, but they're getting their dues, so maybe it wouldn't be a surprise. But yeah, I like these ones at the top anyhow. So yeah, American going to be interesting this year, but Memphis overwhelming favorites to finally get one over the line. Moving on to the CUSA. Now we profiled the CUSA, and I remember us talking about this a few weeks ago. Two teams got votes for the top. I mean, I probably don't even need to tell you this. Could take a guess who the top two teams are. The only two teams who got one got tons, one got 18, the other got two.
Uh,
So who won it decisively last year?
oh, oh, mine's gone blank.
This is the Flames conference. It's Liberty.
Oh, so you got Liberty.
CUSA.
Who else would get a vote? Who else would get votes to win? James
Great.
Madison?
No, it's in Sunbelt.
Oh,
Oh, it's Western Kentucky.
mm.
So we've got they're a very young team.
So
14.
Jackson State, no votes to win.
No, they're third. So you've got Liberty and Western Kentucky as the title game, which seems a safe bet. You've got Jacksonville State. They only finished 7 points behind Western Kentucky, so it's like a top three who are really considered in there. But then Middle Tennessee, fourth. Now they've got the new coach. They finally ejected oh Christ, what's his name? Who was there 17 years. But they got new coaching. So first time head coach and they're thinking fourth, but Nicholas Fatiato is a really good quarterback. So maybe tied for fifth is New Mexico State and Sam Houston all the way up to fifth. A bounce back year potentially there. Louisiana Tech a seventh, Florida International eighth, UTEP a ninth, and then poor Kennesaw State at the bottom in 10th. I mean, that little chasing pack, Middle Tennessee and Sam Houston in the top five. That's some spicy takes there, Ryan.
I'd love to know what they've seen to put Sam Houston fifth. I know they were okay at the end of last year, but really? Do they really think suddenly everything's just going to click for them? I'm not buying that, if I'm completely honest.
No, no.
I understand the bottom.
Yeah,
I say,
I do.
yeah, it's going to be a tough year.
It's good. Yeah, Kennesaw State are going to struggle. UTEP, they've got new head coach now, so
Yeah.
they're
I
undergoing
am
a
very
complete
surprised Jack
rebuild.
State didn't even get one vote.
I know, but
No, under Rich.
no, I guess they've been not discovered, but they're not under the radar anymore, I guess, and they're eligible for it this year because obviously they weren't eligible last year, so maybe pressure comes into it. I don't know, but certainly consensus will be Liberty and Western Kentucky. They have maybe the two best rosters. I'm not sure. Middle Tennessee at 4 is very intriguing. Fatiato's good, but is the team around him good? They've had massive turnover this year, so but they've seen something, which is intriguing. But there was only a point between fourth, fifth, and sixth, so who knows?
It
They've got a
feels
little
like Liberty against the world, really.
yeah, it
It's
does.
theirs to lose.
It does. Even though they've turned over a lot, they turned over tons. Like they only returned 8 of 22 starters last season and they rinsed everybody. So like turnover means nothing to them. They're just that damn good. So yeah, that is CUSA. Their predictions. We've got 2 left, and then we're going to go into our teams. So we've got the Mountain West, their media preseason poll. So we've got three teams with first place votes here. Maybe not surprisingly, they're expecting the Boise State Broncos to go back to back with 38 first place votes there. And then in second and third, split only by points from other votes, they both got 4 first place votes each. You've got UNLV in 2, so not thinking they're going to be a flash in the pan. And then you've got Fresno State at 3, despite the fact they've just lost their head coach, which is interesting. Then you've got Air Force at 4. Colorado State at 5, Wyoming at 6, Utah State at 7, San Diego State at 8, Hawaii at 9, which is incredibly disrespectful, San Jose State at 10, New Mexico at 11. Is Nevada in there? I did not see Nevada. They might be a little further down. But yeah, Boise State, right, expected to go back with it again. Obviously, Ashton Giante is leading the way. Their huge quarterback draw they got there with Malachi Nelson. You know, it kind of feels like a safe bet that they might do it again.
I don't know, this Malachi Nelson, like I say, comes in with this like huge like 5-star rating, but can he live up to it? I'm not sure. I feel like this team could very much flatter to deceive. I say that I've got a player to watch, but no, I'm not sure. Like this must be the most overwhelming poll of all of them. It has to be like the most first place votes. I don't. We saw last year in a couple of years they're going to make life hard for themselves. Wyoming, a little bit slept on last year. They were 9-4, and up until like say 2 weeks before the final, they were firmly in the title race to make a championship game. They slipped up right at the end.
Yeah,
and the hot, blowing, cold Air Force. Like I said, do I trust them? It's a lot of votes, and they've burned me once. I don't know. They've got a lot of confidence that they can't do that again.
And then sneaking in there is Jay Norvell and the Colorado State Rattler. It's year 3 now for Norvell there, and we said it was kind of
some good talent, but they are a good team.
yeah. So there's some interesting names on the periphery. Who would you expect out of UNLV and Fresno to go back? Because obviously Fresno have just lost the head. The Tedford's gone again, so that's surely not good for the season to lose him so close to it.
I like what UNLV have been doing. I'd like to think it might come together this year.
Yeah, and they got they got the FCS quarterback, didn't they? Who you keep mentioning, the Holy Cross one, was it?
Yeah, they got Sluka,
There's a
so
Matthew Slunker there now,
they've got a
so
very experienced quarterback, like you say. And from what they were playing, it's not a huge jump to the Mountain West. It's not exactly super talented.
yeah. So I do think UNLV will be in there. I'm not Boise maybe. Ashton Giante is he's probably one of the best players in the group of five. He can take a game away from any team. So with him and their defense usually been pretty good. I can understand why, but that little touch behind Air Force, Colorado State, Wyoming, like you said, very intriguing teams in there.
One of
Yeah.
them could be a surprise.
If one of them's in there at the end of the season, I would not be surprised. It could be any one of those top six. I think outside of that, not sure. Utah State, they've just fired their head coach because of all that scandal that he had around him. So they've just changed guys. Hawaii, you know what? I think Timmy Chang and Hawaii are going to do well this year. And I think they'll be in bowl contention and maybe a couple of wins here and there. They'll go and do things as well. They should be higher than 9. And then we're going to finish off these with the MAC. All good fun. So, Ryan, only two teams get first place votes in the MAC this year, and they believe that it's going to be a repeat. Miami of Ohio place 1 with 9 first place votes, and Toledo with 3 first place votes in second place, despite the fact they've lost Dick Finn. They've lost the running back. Was it the running back who got yards for days? I can't remember. They've lost a lot of talent, Toledo have. But they think there's going to be a rematch. Do you agree with that?
See, I'd like to say I don't agree with it, but then I think, where's the challenge coming from? Like I say, we've seen Eastern Michigan kind of like say struggle. We've seen like say Western Michigan struggle. Ohio show flashes. Kent State have kind of fallen off a cliff, so it's a pretty top heavy conference. Like I say, that's the problem. Toledo lost loads of talent. It's hard to look past the Miami of Ohio. Like I say, such a well-rounded side. And looking like who do I think could compete?
So the rankings
Fucking
here, Miami and
Buffalo.
Buffalo are ranked 10th. So the rankings here, Miami and Toledo are 1 and 2 with both over 100 points each. It's a tie for third between Bowling Green and Northern Illinois. So Northern Illinois not far removed from winning one themselves, but Bowling Green, yeah,
They
I
were
think
good, yeah,
they
good
were
last year.
okay. And then you've got Ohio in 5th. Is Curtis Rourke still there? If he's there, then they've got a chance, but I feel like he's gone, but I could be wrong. I'll have to check on that. And then you got the Michigans. You got Eastern in 6th, Western in 7th, Central in 8th. Then you got Ball State, Buffalo, Akron, and Kent State at the bottom. They don't like Kent State at all in terms of this season, but they've been ravaged by the portal the last 2 years. So, yeah, you see Bowling Green, Northern Illinois, and Ohio are the ones they really expect to challenge in there.
Yeah. Because, out of those teams, I suppose if you're looking at individual players, the former Missouri quarterback, Connor Bazelak at Bowling Green last year,
Mhm.
played okay, but won a lot of games. Like saying he only just fell to Minnesota in the bowl games. I suppose it's his final year of eligibility. If he can kind of like put it all together for a year, he may get Bowling Green to a title game. He's one of the more high profile players in the whole conference, really, when you look at it. So yeah, he is kind of positioned to lead them on a, like I say, one final swan song.
Yeah, potentially. I can see that. I agree with most of those. The crate train is quite high. Hopefully they bounce back, but I'm not ready to have my heart broken again by them just yet. So it will be a while before I'm back on that one. Right, that is everything in terms of the 7 media poll days so far. Like I say, when the ACC's done, we will give our thoughts on that, and then we'll do the Sun Belt next week when we finish the conference preview. But let's get to the crux of tonight's episode, which is our teams to watch this year. So both me and Ryan have compiled our list of players at each position, most positions. And these are the guys we think that you should look out for this coming college football season. Like I said, there's a mixture of established guys in there already, new freshmen, guys we just like in general, or guys we think might be draft prospects there. Went back and had a look at our predictions last year. We were okay. There are a lot of injuries on our teams. I think at least 5 on both of our teams got knocked out with season-ending injuries early. So Yeah, it was a little bit of a curse in there, but we're going to go through it position by position. We're going to let you know a little bit about these guys, and then yeah, we'll post the graphics up on our socials so you can have a look, and we'll post some links to some of these guys if you want as well. If you want us to do a bit more on them, then just let us know, and we will sort that. So we'll start as always, and We'll start with the offense. We'll start with the quarterback position, beginning our teams to watch this year. Ryan, who is the quarterback you've got your eye on moving into 2024?
So the quarterback I've picked is a guy that is making the jump up from the FCS to the FBS. Max Brosmer, the former New Hampshire Wildcat, is basically penciled in to win the Minnesota Golden Gophers starting job if he wants it. So 6'2", 220. In the last 2 years, he's gone 550, roughly of 875 for 6,600 yards, 56 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. He was the all-conference player 2 years ago, and he led the team to 9-4 records going into the playoffs, and last year 6-5. Like I say, he's going to be replacing, like I say, Adrian Calipmanis that's gone. And Minnesota football is in a really weird state. PJ Fleck is in such a long contract, and even when they had Tanner Morgan, they were so mid. Like I say, they have been average for what feels like so many years now. And this plucky kid's coming in to step into shoes of a school that has been struggling in recent years. Like I say, he's a good pocket passer. He's got a strong arm. It's a big step up. But it's a team, like say, we've just said with like limited expectations. Like I say, what, like 10th in the poll, not expected to do a lot. Fleck, I feel like his job is probably in a little warm seat. Because let's say the recent years have not been kind. There's not a lot of pressure on him. And I feel like this is kind of perfect stepping stone. He's got plenty of eligibility left. He's only young. And he's been pretty good in recent years in the FCS. I feel like he could be the kind of guy that comes in, takes the reins, and could start to turn this franchise round the corner. Like I say, he's got naught to lose, and I want to see what he's got. He's got a good build. He's got a pretty good resume to date, even if it is FCS level. And not many of them do make the jump up successfully, but I feel like he could do all right this year. Like I say, he's got some good weapons around him. Like there are some good skill positions at the Golden Gophers. So he has got guys to work with, but he will be going up against some of the meanest defenses in the country. And I want to see how he adjusts to life like that. Does he sink? Does he swim? It'd be very interesting to see. But yeah, I like the move. It's about time they kind of thought outside the box because their quarterback players left a lot to be desired for multiple years. And Fleck, it's going to be costly to get rid of him because, like I say, they keep getting such a large contract, but can't just keep treading water now, especially now how the landscape of football's changed. So yeah, I'm interested to see what Max can do. I hope he does really well.
And the big bonus for him is they've got a good run game to help him. Like he won't just be expected to sling
Yeah,
it 40
hopefully
times a
can take
game
some
and
pressure off him in that sense.
yeah, agreed there. That's one I'm really looking forward to seeing as well. In terms of my quarterback for this year, so everybody knows like the Becticle is my guy. Connor Weissman is the guy I expect to go and win the Heisman, but there's one guy more than anybody I'm looking forward to seeing this year, and this is I think the only guy in my list who's not taken. Well, he has taken snaps in college football, but he's not really started yet. I'm really looking forward to seeing Nico Iamaleavu this year at Tennessee. This kid is special. He's 6'6", 210 pounds. He's the third highest rated recruit in Tennessee history. Came in the 2023 recruiting class, second overall in that class behind just Arch Manning, of course, who went to Texas. And this is a guy who can just about do it all. First of all, he's got the elite frame at 6'6", 210. You know, no pass is off limits for him. He can hit every single part of the field. I've watched his practice. I've watched some of his game tape. Man's got the arm strength. He's got the ability. And there's not one area of the field he can't hit. He's a legitimate dual threat, but he puts the pocket duty first. He's not one of those who just runs off willy-nilly and keeps going walkabouts. He will do his passing duty in the pocket first, run in second, and they do design a lot of run plays for him as well, but he's already able to do so. He's a high IQ guy. He's got a command of his offense already. He had the bowl game for them last year, and Kim, bowl games usually quite clunky and horrible, but that Tennessee offense looked good with him. He only threw for about 160 yards and a touchdown, but no turnovers. looked good. They won it. So I'm really looking forward to seeing him. He's dipped his toes in, like I mentioned. So he's not green. He had two passing touchdowns last year, three rushing touchdowns as well. He got to see a little bit of action. So he's dipped his toes. He's on the Maxwell Award watch list right at the top, the best QB in the nation. It's tough coming into the SEC as a new blood, but you think of the Tennessee spread offensive system. It's going to be set up well for him. It's going to put him in a position to succeed right away. And like he is vastly superior to the guys they have had on paper. You know, even your Hendon Hookers, your Joe Miltons, like they can't shine this guy's shoes. He is going to be that good. So Nico Iamaleava from Tennessee, I cannot wait this year. He's going to be must-watch television in the SEC. Right, let's move her on. Who do we have at running back this year, Rye?
So we're going to the Big 12, which for me is probably the creme de la creme of running backs this year. It just but no one's talking about this kid that I've seen. I've got Abu Sama the third, the Cyclones running back. Like I say, he's only 19 years old, won't be 20 at the start of this year. Last year, he split carries in an offense. He only took 84 carries for 614 yards, six touchdowns, but going at 7.3 yards a carry. This year, he's about to get a big piece of that pie. Like you say, he's compact, like you say, 5'10, 5'11, 210 pounds. He's a physical young specimen. He's got no tread on the tires whatsoever. Very young in his career, like I say, but potential to grow in this offense and help the quarterback, who's, like I say, basically the same as him, like I say, as a sophomore. They could become a very strong tandem. Like I say, I think Iowa State has got a chance to win the Big 12, if not make a title game, be one of those outside places to make a wild card in the playoffs. If they can win 9, 10, 11 games, if they can go on a real run this year. But this kid, like I say, very strong, muscular, good frame, good in space, will like to catch the back ball at the backfield this year. I think the sky's the limit for him. And like I say, he's got a lot of youth, got a lot of athleticism and burst at the end. And I'd like to think this year he could double that. He can go to 150 carries. He could easily eclipse 1,000 yards. And like you say, he could be in for one of those, like say, seasons where he's challenging as one of the best rushers in the nation for a potential title. Not a lot stands above him on the depth chart. And like I say, he should win the job outright and take a bit of pressure off Rocco. If he can go out there and carry the rock for 1,000 yards next season, that will make their offense a lot more balanced. And like I say, will give them the best chance to win.
So you've just witnessed history here, folks. When me and Ryan did this last year, we did 22 players each, and we didn't have a single same player on ours. We had 22 different players each. But my guy at running back, Abu Sama the third, the running back from Iowa State. I think we're thinking very similarly along the same lines when it comes to the Cyclones this year. Yeah, I can't put much more in what you've said. 5'11", 200 pounds. Like he had his big breakout week 13 last year against Kansas State, 273 yards and three touchdowns. His touchdown runs, the first run of the game, 73 yards, 71 yards, and 60 yards. I think his three touchdowns were. We watched that and like, Christ, this man was absolutely crazy. He had a 100-yard game against BYU. Like he didn't start a game till that Kansas State one. So, 611 yards, six touchdowns, steady as a receiver. Like I say, he's going to be a sophomore this year. They didn't use him in pass pro last year because you very rarely use true freshmen like that. They're not big enough, not developed enough yet. But pass pro is going to come this year. Going to look for consistency. He's going to be in a really good team. I'm right on board with you there, right? Like Abu Sama is one that everyone will be talking about next year. And then I've got a second one as well, so I'll quickly get him in. I've mentioned him in our previews. So Kanye Roberts, he's the running back from Appalachian State. He's 5'11", 200 pounds. So he was the redshirt freshman last year. He broke out alongside Joey Aguilar, who had the best season of any quarterback ever last year. 700 yards and seven touchdowns, running just under 6 yards per carry, all whilst working in a rotation as a 1B running back to Nate Noel, who was like, these are running back records for App State there. So to have 700 yards, seven touchdowns, 6 yards a carry as a backup running back, as a redshirt freshman who has not played much football, he's a tough runner. Nearly 500 of his 700 yards came after contact. So he is a big mauling bruiser who is hard to bring down, but he mixes that brutality with a surprising high level of pace for a guy who's built like him. I don't think he's going to be the quickest in the world, but really he is. He's got good hands. He caught 14 of 15 as a receiver. He is a good run blocker. It was his second year, so he did do a lot more blocking than Sama did. Um, if the pass pro improves with experience with him, he will soon be a do-it-all running back, potentially on a Sunbelt winning team with Appalachian State. So Kanye Roberts as well as Abu Sama, two guys who you really have to look out at the running back position. Right. Maybe we'll do it again. Wide receiver, right? Let's move on. Who do you have at the wide receiver position?
If you've done it again, I'd be amazed. I've gone to the FCS for a guy here.
Oh, you're all right then.
Gone
You're
to
fine.
so a kid called Daniel Sobkovitz from the Illinois State Redbirds, plays in the Mountain Valley Conference. 6'3", 205. I say coming into his junior year. Last year, caught 68 of 75 balls. Nearly everything that touched his hands, it got caught. 933 yards and 10 touchdowns. That was good enough for all second team MVFC last year. He's now started 22 games in a row. I say he's become one of the most physical and outside dominating conference and FCS receivers. I saw one page ranked him as like the 16th best receiver in the FCS this year, or thinks he could be. Like I say, incredibly strong. Like I say, uses that big frame, good range, and he has got a lot of traits that, like I say, next year maybe an FBS school could like, and in 2 years' time, you're going to see him at the Shrine or the East West Bowl. They're the kind of guys that always make those games, the FCS guys. But yeah, big frame, great catch radius, fantastic grip. Like I say, good hand strength. Like I say, barely drops anything that comes his way. He's got better every year. And the team, like I say, has vastly improved in recent seasons. So I think this is going to be a guy to watch, not just in the SCS, but nationally. If he can get, like say, 25, 30, 40 more targets and he can catch a lot of them, he's going to put some ridiculous numbers. And we've seen in recent years, like say, Jalen Coker, Jackson, Jaden Yankee get, like say, pro kind of interest going into, like say, those all-star games. Next year as a junior, he may decide to declare. We could be talking about him in our Shrine Bowl watch next year or the Senior Bowl in 2 years. He's kind of got that upward trajectory. But yeah, he's definitely someone to watch, maybe as a potential transfer portal player next year if he does want to make the step up or go to a big FCS program. I say 'cause he's trending in that direction very well.
And that's a program that has produced a lot of transfers to the FBS in recent years. I know I must have mentioned Illinois State 3 or 4 times when we did this USA stuff. So absolutely, team that creates good players. And the FCS guys, they mentioned nearly all of them were FCS guys when we were talking about the Shrine Bowl last year. So definitely a lot there. Right, so my receivers, I've got two of them. So the first one to watch I have is Easton Messer. So he's the slot wide receiver from Western Kentucky, 5'9", 195 pounds. I mentioned him as my guy to watch for them this year. So Messer's part of a young, highly skilled receiver core at Western Kentucky. Three of them were redshirt freshmen last year who all contributed. He had 500 yards and 4 touchdowns in 2023. As I say, he's a slot, he's a bit smaller. But who's he been learning from these past few years? He's been learning from Malachi Corley, who was similarly an undersized slot receiver who just got picked up by the Jets on day 2 of the NFL draft. He is basically going to be the new Yak Master, replacing Malachi Corley in this air raid offense, despite the fact that Tyson Helton will tell you otherwise. But he's going to see the ball a lot in this system. They've brought in TJ Finley, who passed for miles last year for Texas State. They've got Caden Veltkamp thrown to him. So whoever wins that job there, he's going to have a great quarterback throwing at him. Probably going to be able to put up a ton of stats in his sophomore year. And he might be the next big draft prospect to come out of Western Kentucky moving into his third year. So Easton Messer is the guy to watch there. And then the other guy, of course, I'm going to make a homer pick from NC State here, but generally this kid is a phenomenon. Kevin Concepcion, wide receiver, NC State, 5'11", 187 pounds, the best freshman receiver in the nation last year, period, and I will not hear any arguments against it otherwise. As a true freshman, racked up 845 yards 10 touchdowns. He had 5 multi-touchdown games. 4 of them came in the ACC, so he didn't just beat up on poor opposition. He did a lot in the league. They had a problem at running back, or we had a problem at running back last year. We used him as a running back as well. He had 314 yards at 7.9 yards per carry, so over 1,000 yards from scrimmage in his first year, closer to 1,200. And why is he so good in the backfield and as a receiver? He's a speed demon. I have not seen the likes of the burst this guy has. I put one of his touchdowns in the chat ages ago. He just goes from 0 to 100 in no time at all. He had an 86% open target rate last year, which is 92nd percentile when it comes to receivers. That's as a true freshman. When you're getting open on nearly 9 out of every 10 routes you're running, considerable distance, it shows that your route running is already coming into its own. It shows that your speed is next level, and guys just cannot deal with you. His hands are solid. You know, dropped 4 passes, I think it was, on the year. But true freshman, you're going to have little jips like that, but it's still not many. The blocking has to come on, but again, he's true freshman last year. They don't really ask him to block so much because the bodies are not fully developed at this point. And at 187, you will expect he'll put a few pounds on going into this year. But technically, he's advanced beyond his years, and he meshes his speed and his technique together to just be a completely dangerous weapon. And he's got Grayson McCall throwing to him this year. And we've got a really good receiving goal. You've got Justin Joly in there, who's going to be taking attention over the middle. Kevin Concepcion is going to have a monster year health-wise as long as he is good. So he's on there. Kevin Concepcion, Easton Messer, 1 power 4, 1 group of 5. Those are guys you want to watch there. Right, making swift progress. Tight end, you got a tight end, right?
I have, yeah. So the tight end I've got is Jake Bringingstool, the Clemson kid. Like I say, he's 21. He's going into, I believe, his second or his third year. Like I said, he's massive. So he's over 6'6". He's very slender, like 235, 240. He's not built like a tight end at all. But this guy, like I say, 50 catches, 498 yards, and 5 touchdowns last year. And that doesn't sound a lot, but their offense last year really struggled. And if they're going to get better this year, Cade Klubnik is going to have to look to a guy like this guy that can do the intermediate to deep stuff, right? Say, and try and move the ball downfield. A tight end can be a quarterback's best friend, and Jake has got that. Now, I'm not going to lie, he's not very athletic. He's not overly fast or quick, but what he's got that basketball kind of point guard kind of build that guys love, especially in the red zone. Like I say, it makes him a menace, a mismatch to guys to work out against because he can box you out line of scrimmage. And also over the middle and deep threat, put it out in front of him, put it up above him. The range of physical tools this guy has got are quite ridiculous. And if he can learn how to grow into his body and use it a little bit better, work on his feet with the cones, I think he could be a very good weapon. And I think this year he could have quite a big year. I think if Cade's going to make the jump, it's going to have to start with getting guys like Jake involved this year. But yeah, the tight end, the NFL kind of loves these big guys. Like say, was it Kuntz last year, like 6'7" from the FCS? He got drafted because, like I said, they got them tools that you can't teach this kind of stuff. Like I say, and sorry,
Spanford
yeah,
at Minnesota.
Kevin
Like,
Spanford from Minnesota, very low numbers, but 6'6", like 245. Like there's a kind of a build, and some teams just kind of love it. Like I said, when this guy was targeted by the quarterback, I think the QB rating was like 97, which says a lot that this guy is gobbling up the targets. Don't ask him to block because that things will come later, or you don't ever teach him it, let's be honest. But we know as well, like I say, Laporta, an inline tight end or a guy out in the slot, if he's gonna good with the ball in his hands and can make things happen, you kind of got to feed him it. And I feel like this could be the year kind of things come together for Jake and Klubnik hopefully kind of realizes that he needs to use this go-to guy. But yeah, he's really starting to grow into his own now, and I think that he'll do really well this year.
yeah, I said there's room for that type. Like I say, Spanford, not athletic, but red zone menace, tall as mismatch. there is a place for those guys in there. So yeah, the Clemson tight end one to watch there for sure. And I have got Caleb Rios. I want to say his name is Rios. I hope it is because it comes off the tongue really well. So he's tight end for the Florida Gators. He is 6'5", 255 pounds. Rios was one of, if not the best blocking tight end in the nation last year. The reason why, he was playing for the Air Force Falcons. So it's perhaps not surprising he's very good at blocking. On the service line, you block to your drop, then you block some more, and you're blocking against the Mountain West lineup. And we know the Mountain West defensive lines hit hard and they hit fast. And this guy was one of the best in the nation last year. He's going to provide spine for a Gators team that, quite frankly, needs it. You look at that line, you think you need someone in the run game, in pass protection, who is just built different, and that is his bread and butter to start with. And the Gators use a lot of two tight end formations there, so he's got an into the team straight from the off. He's got receiver skills as well, but this might be the little hidden weapon for Florida here, because Air Force never passed the ball. The worst number of passes in the FBS last year by about 40 towards Army. And Army don't throw the ball that much either. That shows you how little they threw the ball. He gobbled up nearly 20% of the targets on that team. So when they did throw the ball, they threw it to him. A very solid pair of hands. But you go back to his high school days, his last year in high school, he racked up about 1,400 yards in one season. So the guy has receiver talent, which people just haven't seen yet. And if Billy Napier is clever about this, you are going to have a weapon who you can bring in as a run blocker to start with, and over time you will gradually develop him into a potent dual threat tight end. He's got 2 years of eligibility left. He's been at Air Force for 3 years. He's graduated from there, so he's got time to bed in. But in terms of a road mauling blocker, guys who like your tight ends who can block with the run, Caleb Rios is the guy to watch this year. Right now, might be a bit. You've got no O lineman, right? Do I remember? Or do you
I
have an
didn't
O
put any
lineman?
offensive lineman in now.
Right. So I will go through my O lineman and then we'll move on to the defense. So I have done my 5. I will try and keep this brief. So I've got 2 tackles, 2 guards, and a center. And this kind of might be an answer to, because Lisa asked us about tackles and centers in this draft. Maybe this will be a slight answer. I'll give you a bigger one in due course. But let me go through my tackles. So 2 tackles. First guy I've already mentioned. So Valentin Sen. He is the left tackle for the Yukon Huskies. He's 6'6", 302 pounds. And if you thought with Christian Haynes coming to the NFL, I'd stop talking about Yukon offensive linemen this year, you're dead wrong. Might even talk about it a little bit more. But he is a brutish Austrian left tackle who is looking to continue Yukon's, conveyor belt of O-line talent. And this all comes through their offensive coordinator, Gordon Samis. So in the last 2 years, you've had Ryan Vandermark drafted, Christian Haynes drafted. This is a team, creates NFL caliber offensive linemen. They are very technically gifted in this team. They are asked to do a lot in the run game. You saw with Haynes last year, the amount of stuff he did in the run game, the amount of pulling, the amount of blocking, all this sort of stuff. They've got to be very clever to run the schemes there. So going to be very scheme versatile at the next level. In 2 years as a starter, Sen has surrendered 2 sacks in 800 pass pro snaps. And UConn run a tough schedule. They play 4 Power 4 games per year. So he has 8 games against Power 4 opposition, and he has surrendered precisely 0 sacks and 0 quarterback hits in those 8 games. And if you think, is it bad P4? He's played against Michigan. He's played against Florida State. Not Florida State. He's played against Virginia. He's played against some teams with really good edge rushers. His run blocking is really good. They had a 1,000-yard rusher last year. Victor Rosa, expect is going to be very good this year. He's got another 4 games against Power 4 opposition this year as well. This could be the next big guy. He could be a day 2, maybe potentially a fringe day 1 pick if he goes there. But at 6'6", 302, he's a tall man. No one gets the better of him, not even the Power 4. So Valentin Sen, I'm really looking forward to watching with the Yukon Huskies this year. On my other tackle, so maybe I think he's the best left tackle in college football, and I'm not going to be shy about that. Wyatt Millam, he's the left tackle for West Virginia, 6'6", 317 pounds. Again, forget the LSU guys. I think this is the best left tackle in the country. So Millam has been a starter for West Virginia pretty much since the day he walked through the door. He started 32 of 36 games there, going back to his time as a true freshman. He took his lumps in his freshman year at right tackle and gave up, I think, about 4 or 5 sacks that year. It took him a bit of time, but they moved him to the blind side just as a sophomore. So second year, left tackle, protecting Garrett Green's blind side. And he has not given that spot back. He's given up 0 sacks and 1 quarterback hit in 2 years at left tackle, running a mighty tough Big 12 schedule. Me and Ryan talked about the strength of depth earlier. There's a lot of good edge rushers in the Big 12, and he's given up nothing to them. And this is over 800 snaps of pass pro he's got at left tackle, so it's a big sample size. He's a high-level run blocker as well. West Virginia had the 3rd best rushing offense in the nation last year, running behind him. Their trench players are just built different. Zach Frazier got drafted this year on day 2 because he was one of the best centers in the draft. Some might have said he was the best center in the draft. That may have been me. But this is a proven school with great offensive linemen. Wyatt Millen, for me, pound for pound, is the best left tackle in college football this year. The guards. So I've got Clay Webb. He's the guard from Jacksonville State, 6'3", 290 pounds. Mentioned him in our CUSA preview. For me, he's one of the group of 5's best players. The former 5-star recruit from Georgia. Couldn't dislodge Cedric Van Pran from the center spot. So he dropped all the way down to a team that was just coming up to the FBS to find an opportunity. And he took it with both hands. He gave up just 2 pressures. That's just pressures last year. 1 sack, 1 QB pressure. That was it. And Jacksonville State, again, one of the best running games in the entire country. He destroyed absolutely everything in front of him. And if he has another season similar to what he did there, he'll be in day 2 conversation for the draft next year if he declares. I think he's still got 1 more year left after this if he wants to. But the guard, Josh Preeb. So I've put a Michigan player in for the 2nd year in a row. He's 6'5", 305 pounds. And as much as I might berate Michigan all the time, they are one of the smartest portal teams around. They only get what they need. They don't bring tons of transfers in. They just bring guys to fill spots. And that offensive line is undergoing a rebuild last year. So Preeb is the left guard from Northwestern. He's got 1,700 snaps there, predominantly as a starter over the last 3 years. And he's done really well on a team that has quite frankly been in a sea of turbulence up until last year. And he's managed to work his way through. Northwestern, again, another producer of NFL caliber talent. 2 left tackles in a row, drafted in the 1st round. Preeb looks like he might be one of those next guys. Maybe not day 1, but you're going to Michigan, which is a terrific school for building offensive linemen. He is already intimately knowledgeable with the Big Ten, the teams he's going to be going up against, and he's going to fit into what will be probably one of the best lines in the country. Again, he has the odd bad game here and there, but I'd say consistency, you get that. I think Preeb is going to be a day 1 starter there. It's his last year, lot to prove, wants to go high in the draft. So I've got him going high there. And then the last guy I've got a center, Drew Kendall. He is the center for Boston College, 6'4", 292 pounds. And for those older heads around here, he is the son of Pete Kendall. So he was the Seahawks guard. He was drafted in the 1st round in 1996. He played in 190 NFL games. So he's got lineage. Drew's been the starting center at what is, again, an O-line factory at Boston College for the last 2 years now. And he's very much part of this renaissance that the Eagles are undergoing with their new quarterback, and they seem to be doing well with coaching. And, you know, he is part of this. Just 1 sack given up in 2023, vastly improved his run blocking. The entire offensive line looked a lot better. He gave up 1 pressure against Florida State, and like Florida State had one of the best D-lines in the country last year. That just shows you how well he was playing. He had a penalty problem last year. He gave up 9 penalties, which for center is a lot. 3 of them were in that Florida State game when they gave up over 200 penalty yards. That needs sorting, but he's got family pedigree. He's at a school which creates NFL linemen. And his development, his trajectory, how well he's done, he's well on his way to becoming a top center prospect this year. So Drew Kendall, Boston College. Boston College could be a fun team to watch this year. So those are my 5 on the offensive line. Right. And that is offense done. Let's switch it to the defensive side of the ball, and we'll start on the line, tackle, edge, whatever you want, right? Who's on your D line prospects list?
Yep, so I've got a classic DT and an edge. So my defensive tackle is Aeneas Peebles. So he is the nose tackle this year for the Virginia Tech Hokies, a transfer from the Duke Blue Devils. He's a short king. He's only 6'1", but he's 131 kilos. So he's a big old boy. Last year broke out with 5 sacks, a forced fumble, 2 passes defended, and 44 tackles for the Blue Devils. And this guy has the versatility to shift all up and down the interior of that defensive line. Right, so people say that his head level, his pad level are really good when he lines up. He understands leverage because he's a shorter guy. He knows he's got to work a little bit harder to get a little bit higher. Hand placement, he understands where the first pop needs to be, how to engage, how to disengage, and how to keep the hands moving to win. His pass rush from the interior is fantastic. I say he's got like an 83 pass rush wing grade. I say from the interior, the first step is timing the snap is perfect. I say his first step is electric, and he's able to get into the backfield and cause havoc on numerous players. So despite being shorter, heavier, lacking the leverage and that kind of frame you really want to move outside as an interior pass rush winner, and I'd say someone that's able to take on double teams and disengage, he's someone that needs to follow up with a big year. And he's looking at the draft now as a potential, like I say, defensive lineman interior in the NFL. A lot of them will stock a lot of them on their rosters because you can go through them quite quickly. And Peebles is now looking as a senior next year to force his way into the draft. And if he's able to follow up with a good season again, could turn into a day 2, day 3 prospect. Like I said, offers very good pass rush skills for an interior lineman. Is also able to hold his own against those bigger offensive linemen. So it's a big pickup for the Hokies last year that have been very up and down. Big loss for the Duke Blue Devils, though. Losing Dwayne Carter to the draft a year ago and losing Peebles. That's 2 interior anchors their line has lost this year. So they will suffer for that, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely. You got an edge as well, did you say?
I have, yeah. I have got the enigma that is Princely Human Milan, or however you pronounce it. So He is he's a physical specimen at 6'5", but only 240 pounds. Big issue, I'd say, he's very underweight, but the pass rush skills, ridiculous. He's got the motor of Hutchinson. He's got a deadly spin move as well already. That's one of his highest polished moves. Like I say, he is relentless in rush, uses the hands well, generates burst. Like I say, had a good had an okay career at Florida. This year, he's decided to make the move. He'll be part of Lane's Kiffin. He'll be anchoring the defensive line for the Ole Miss Rebels, which is a big move for him this year before the draft. A lot think first round potential in the draft next year. Now, everything is not clicked as of right now. Now, whether that's it's not talent, like I say, he's got talent. He's got that kind of rare length, those really long arms to win around the edge. He's got bend, the hips to go all the way around and come back. He has everything. I don't know if it's work ethic, attitude, or coaching for where he's been, but right now it has not clicked. Like I say, he only had 7 sacks last year, and this is the kind of guy that should be expecting a pop double digits this year. So eyes are firmly much on him. If he has guys out there and he tears it up, he will be taken in the first round, whether he should be or not. If he goes out there and flatters to deceive in this big time move for him for a team that's trying to win the playoffs, then people will criticize him and they will come quite heavily on him. But I'm hoping it comes good. Like I say, he has got everything you want from a pass rusher. Run game needs work. Like I say, for someone so big setting the edge, he does struggle. Like I say, and he can get washed out. Like I say, he can struggle with some of the more athletic or more elusive backs. That's where he needs to work. But yeah, he's got all the frame, the skills, and everything to be a day one outside wide pass rusher with the hand in the dirt, or in, like I say, that two-step stance. So yeah, I'm watching him this year. I'm hoping this year, like, he don't go just go. I think he wants to be like a Nagurski winner. Right, so go out there and be the best defensive player in the nation. I'm hoping he does it.
You know, Ole Miss have gone all in this year, aren't they? Like his fate is very
Yeah.
much tied to Ole Miss, and
Yeah,
like he's
that D
one.
line, like say Nolan, you got him. Like I said, they've gone out and they've just brought a load of dudes in. Like I say, it's now or never for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm intrigued to see what he does. as well. So on my D line, I've got three guys. I did the same as last year. Smorgasbord. So the first guy, my favorite edge in this class, Nick Scowerton from Texas A&M. I talked about him in the college Q&A show I did a few weeks ago. 6'4", 280 pounds, and I've aptly named him the Texas Tornado. So he's known for his symbolic spin move that he deploys a lot to great effect. He's coming off a breakout sophomore season where you can kind of see where the improvement needs to come from, but it's his first year as a starter. So what he did in 2023 is highly impressive. He's only going to get better. So he's transferred to A&M from Purdue. So I like my Purdue edges. Go back to Carl Aftis a couple of years ago when he got drafted. Again, I talk about techniques and the technicals all the time. These guys have big arsenals of pass rush moves, and they know how to use them. He's not got the most dominating athletic profile in the world, but his bulky frame, 280 pounds for an edge, 6'4", he's got high athletic ability to, it's high, it's not dominating, but it makes him very dangerous. So first up, he's great against the run, like 280 pounds, makes it difficult for tackles to manhandle him. He had 25 run stops in 2023. It was good for third in the FBS amongst edge rushers in total, and that's his first year as a starter. As a pass rusher, the bulk, it allows him to be an effective bull rusher, just overpower guys with raw strength. But as mentioned, he's got tricks in the bag, no more so than the spin move, which this just example after example of him using it to get sacks. The man moves quicker than a guy his size should. He's got the spin, he's got the swim, he's got all sorts you can use there. And you can also, he's very versatile. His frame allows him to drop inside on a three-man front to more of a defensive tackle type. You can have him as a hand in the ground guy. So he's got a lot of versatility. He's got a lot of room to grow. But again, this A&M team this year is a dark horse. And if guys like him come in and play like the best guys in the country, they're going to be a playoff team and they're going to upset a lot of people. He's got guys like Walter Nolan just inside from him. He's going to get a lot of help. So Nick Scowerton is one to watch there. And then the other two, it's past and present from Louisville. So I've actually got a group of five guy next. Got Henry Bryant the third from Georgia State. Another guy I mentioned we should watch in our previews this year. 6', 290 pounds. So he's transferred down to the group of five from Louisville. It was his first season as a starter last year with the Panthers. He had 4 sacks, 26 quarterback pressures, over 30 tackles, just an 11% missed tackle rate, which is low, especially for the first year of a DT. He's basically a do-it-all defensive tackle who has adjusted to life quickly as a starter, shows a lot of promise as a pass rusher, very stout in his run defense. If he can get those sack numbers up, the plays in the backfield up this year, you're going to have one of the more dangerous edge rushers in the group of five, period. And he plays on the interior. You just have a disruptor who can go in and do anything that you need him to. And they run an insanely hard gauntlet away from home this year. So he's going to have plenty of opportunities to shine against high quality opposition. So Henry Bryant III, looking forward to seeing him. And then the future of Louisville on their edge line, Jordan Guerad. So he's a transfer in this year from Florida International. He spent 3 years with FIU. He spent the last 2 years as a starter on the interior. Another guy, he's exceptional against the run. He's one of the best run stuff in D tackles in the CUSA, period. He's got 5 sacks over the last 2 years. So again, bigger interior guy. He has pass rush upside. Really good when it comes to his tackling. The missed tackle rate came down from 19% to 10 last year. Forced fumbles, even got an interception in there as well. Generally very disciplined, and he's coming up to a Louisville team. Like, that line's good. Ashton Gillotta is one of the best edge rushers in the nation this year. They develop the guys really well. They need help against the run. That's why they've bought specialist run stuffers in, and Guerad's probably, I think, going to shine from day one. He's highly experienced in the group of five, brings a lot of experience into the room. He's going to start for them. So those are my 3 guys on the edge there. Nick Scowerton, Texas A&M, Henry Bryant, Georgia State, and Jordan Guerad from Louisville. Right, we're moving into the linebackers now, Ryan.
Yep, so my linebacker is, people know this name, it's Yanni Karlaftis. from Purdue Boilermakers, and yes, he is the younger brother of George. So at 6'3", 235 pounds, coming off a year where he had 55 tackles, 28 solo, and 2.5 sacks. He is now going to be the figurehead, the look-to guy for the younger guys around him. Like I say, his coach Ryan, say, has slowly come on every year. Like I say, he's a good pass rusher. He's strong in the run game. He can drop back into coverage. And I think this is the year where he kind of wants to get out of his brother's shadow. Like I say, his time as a Boilermaker has been and gone. Giannis is now starting to kind of carve out a story for himself as a do-it-all kind of guy. Like I say, he's got great size, good athleticism. As a guy that can anchor the center of that midfield, he's going to be looked this year to help turn around a program that has not been great in recent years. And he kind of wants to make a name for himself now going forward into his, I think it's his third or fourth year. So he's going to be someone that's going to be on the field a lot. Like you say, good, strong tackler. He's got a good range. He's physical. He wraps up. He meets at the point of impact. He's also able to come off the blitz as well. Like I say, he understands those schemes and concepts. He's able to get in the backfield and take on running backs, try and beat their blocks. And when he does get to the quarterback, he is able to finish. Like I say, he's got a good arsenal in that sense there. So he's going to be looked upon this year to kind of take the handbrake off now. He's kind of eased his way into, like I say, special teamer, part-time roller. Last year, big role, and now, like I say, he's going to be looked at as someone as one of the veterans on defense, and like, a lot of people are going to be looking towards him now to try be one of the guys on the field to take them potential captain in future. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how he does and the jump he makes. Like I say, new coaching system that's kind of bedding in now there. Like I say, a fairly new head coach. Like I say, is going to look to someone like Yanni to become a guy that he can rely on and maybe even carry the green dot. It wouldn't surprise me if he's going to be a play caller, if he's going to be a Mike linebacker with that kind of build.
Mhm. All right, great. Okay, I'll move on to my guys. I've got three again here. So starting off with Wayne Matthews the third going to Michigan State this time, but he's a transfer. He's not a natural player from there. So he actually comes from the Old Dominion Monarchs. And Old Dominion had one of the best linebacker pairings in the group of five last year between Jason Henderson and Wayne Matthews the third. They had a great room in terms of their linebackers, and Wayne Matthews is coming to a Spartans team, which quite frankly needs him. Their defense has been rank the last few years, and Jonathan Smith's obviously going to put big emphasis on improving that, and that's why Wayne Matthews is here. So last year, he's kind of a do-it-all guy. 4 sacks, 120 tackles on the season, just an 11% missed tackle rate for him. He's really good. It was his first year as a starter for Old Dominion. So those really good numbers. 50 run stops, 3 forced fumbles, had a couple of pass breakups as well. When it comes to a guy who's just going to give you everything he's got, he's going to be first and foremost a tackling machine at the heart of your defense, but you can bring him up on the blitz. You can drop him into coverage because he can make plays. He can hit hard in the run game. He graded nearly 80 against the run. I'm really looking forward to seeing what he can do on a Power 4 stage this year. And you think of the Big Ten, like linebackers galore come from that conference, and he's got a couple of years of eligibility left. He's only going to keep getting better, but he's going to walk straight into this defense. And as far as I can see, he's penciled in to start. So these Old Dominion guys, I'm watching very, very closely this year. Wayne Matthews the third for Michigan State is my first guy. After that, staying in the Big Ten, because again, Big Ten, while there may not be a lot of flash teams in there, a lot of teams have great defenses, and there's a lot of defenders who go unnoticed in their mix. And I'm heading to Northwestern this time for Xander Mueller. So this is going to be his last year in college. It's going to be his fourth year, third as a starter. Had a great 2023, another 4 sacks. So you can bring him up, you can blitz off there, 130 tackles for him, slightly higher on the missed tackle rating there, but again, 50 run stops, a guy who is heavy against the run. You can bring him up to blitz. And again, surprisingly great in coverage, had 3 interceptions last year, so was able to turn the ball over a lot for the Wildcats. Had a couple of forced fumbles in there as well, but he's a guy he had a very rough 2022. Like across the board, he was bad. It was his first year as a starter. Second year, integrated into what was a better Northwestern team last year. Soon took over as its leader. And now he's going to get the chance, hopefully, on a more settled program. He's still with Northwestern, but the defense will be pretty good. He's coming into his last year. He's going to be one of them Big Ten defenders you hear about in draft circles the more you go on. He's 6'3", 235 pounds. He's on the bigger side. I love that for linebackers. For me, that's a perfect size weight ratio there. And I really look forward to seeing what he does in his final year. So you've got Xander Mueller there as well. And then finally, got a younger guy who's going to the ACC this year, Cade Uluave from the California Golden Bears. Now, we haven't talked about Cal that much on here, considering last year they were really good. Their offense was amazing. The defense was not so good, but it was quite young. And Uluave is one of these young guys. He's not eligible to the draft till 2027. It was his first year, who had a little bit of rough and tumble in there. He only graded at 48, but again, he showed that he is a do-it-all prospect. Had 3 sacks on the year, double digits when it came to his pressures. 70 tackles for him. He only saw limited game time, 470 snaps, 29 stops against the run, 2 forced fumbles, 2 interceptions, 2 pass breakups. So he's another who's got really high upside as a coverage linebacker, but can also do all the dirty stuff against the run as well. Now, he needs to continue developing, but I think we are seeing the formation of a highly talented Golden Bear this year. And he's going to a conference again. Think of the Clemsons, the Florida States, the UNCs. A lot of highly talented linebackers come out of that conference. He could be the next as Cal transition over. So you've got Wayne Matthews III at Michigan State, Xander Mueller at Northwestern, and Cade Uluave at Cal. All right, let's move into the secondary room. Let's go corner first. Who have you got? You got a couple, I believe, at corner.
Yep, got a pair of corners. So first we're going G4. So I've got Amarion McCoy, got the Boise State Broncos cornerback. The senior is just coming off a stellar year with 31 tackles, 5 passes defended, a sack, and 3 interceptions for 41 yards. I believe he was their interception lead last year. And he has decided to come back for his final year. And like I say, try capture another championship. Like I say, very good tackler. He's got a strong nose for the ball. He's one of the most experienced guys on the team now. He's been there for many a year. Like I say, he locks down his side of the field. Like I say, he's going to have someone young or potentially inexperienced opposite to him. He's going to have to show veteran leadership this year to other younger guys in the room. We can have transition at the cornerback. But yeah, he's very good. Good ball placement, good hand placement. Like I say, he's got a nose. He's able to take the ball away. Like I say, he's good size at 6 foot, 180 pounds. Maybe a good guy as a UDFA, or I say maybe a pro league player somewhere next year. I say the UFL, CFL, something like that. He'll strongly be considered as an option. Got a lot of experience under his belt. Strong outside press, but could play man coverage. Like I say, he's physical at the line of scrimmage, and he doesn't shy away from coming downhill to tackle as well. He is very happy to get down in the trenches, do the dirty work, come down and meet a running back at the line of scrimmage. He's very physical in that aspect and doesn't shy away. But he's always trying to punch out and trying to get a nose on the balls here. He's a big piece of their defense coming back this year and returning. Like I say, they're looking to, like I say, win another title, and he will be a guy that is going to close down his half of the field and help other guys around him. So what he brings off the field and on the field is very big for them. Like I say, deciding to return and use up all his eligibility instead of potentially going pro next year or transferring to a program where he could spend his final year. He decided to return to the Broncos.
All right. Was that both,
I've
or shall
got
we?
another one.
Oh, well, we'll switch. We'll rotate. So my first guy I've got here at corner. So when we talk about this corner class, again, I answered this on the college Q&A a while back. There are 4 what I would call blue chippers already in the draft next year. Obviously, you've got Will Johnson, who is the most talented player Michigan have produced in forever. You've got Benjamin Morrison at Notre Dame, who is a freak in his own right. You've got Travis Hunter, depending on what he decides to do with his career. But I think the consensus is he's profiling better towards cornerback. The fourth guy who you never hear about because he's at a very unpopular team and people don't take notice of him. And we mentioned this team already, Ricardo Holman at Wisconsin. Nobody talks about this guy. Why? Because he's just not getting the fanfare. He's not at a big fashionable team. He is 5'8", 185 pounds, maybe a little on the smaller side for now, but it doesn't help. You know, he can be bulked up. It's absolutely fine. But last year had a breakout year. It was his first as a full-time starter for Wisconsin, played nearly 900 snaps, had 38 tackles on the year, 7 run stops. He was 50% when it came to his receptions and targets. Only gave up 32 receptions on 63 targets, 7 interceptions, and 3 pass breakups. The guy has a nose for the ball. Wherever the ball went, he went with it. And as Ryan will testify, that Wisconsin secondary, they've got great guys at safety as well. It is a formidable unit, but he's the guy who broke out last year. Just 1 penalty on the year, very disciplined, doesn't commit holding, again, very technically astute, so that he's not caught grabbing. He's good with his positions. You always see him in good coverage positions, doesn't let himself get out muscled or out maneuvered out position. I love this guy. I think he is a blue chip prospect. He's got 1,300 snaps for Wisconsin altogether. There's a missed tackle thing. His second year when he was a bit part starter, he had a 43% missed tackle rate. That came down to 24% last year. It's still high, so you've got to get the fundamentals right with the tackling. But outside of that, in terms of the ball hawking ability here, the ability to change games, turn plays over, Ricardo Holman is the one who is getting slept on, and he shouldn't be. He's just as good as the other three. And one more great year for him at Wisconsin, especially if they make waves in the Big Ten. He is going to be right up there and might go before some of these guys in the draft. It's just where he plays and maybe his size a little bit that people get at. But yeah, I love Holman. I'm going to push a vote for him this year. Who have you got second?
So this guy, I think this might be the guy on the list that I'm looking at the most. Maxwell Hairston, cornerback, Kentucky Wildcats. And this is a guy that kind of came out of nowhere. In 2022, he had 2 tackles. Last year, this guy had 66 tackles, 6 passes defended, a forced fumble, 5 interceptions, and 2 touchdowns in his first time as a starter. Like I say, 6'1", 180 pounds. He was second team All SEC last year and third in team on the tackles. This kid has come out of nowhere and he's electric. He's got an incredible nose for the ball. Like I say, it's like he knows where the route's going before the ball has been snapped. Mirrors quarterbacks incredibly well. Like I say, the feet, the hip, the swivel. He turns directions on a dime, and he has got a nose. It just plucks the ball out of thin air. Very aggressive at the point that's going to be catched, and he's a nightmare in general. He's going to be against some of the best in the SEC, and he's someone that will very quickly find maybe this year, I say, gets invited to the combine. I say if he has another good year, I think he's the real deal. Very physical in the tackle, bit sloppy at times. I say he's sometimes a bit too overzealous. He plays with a lot of energy. Sometimes he's to slow it down, break down a little bit. But yeah, he's always looking at ripping the ball, punching it out when he sometimes should be, making securing the tackle. He just loves to force turnovers and be a wrecking on the outside. And this year, if that team is going to do well, this guy has to be one of them that is going to step up and be one of the best players on the team. And this year he'll want to be like first team All SEC. And I'm looking at him to be maybe one of the better players in the nation. Like you think he should be in consideration for the Jim Thorpe Award this year. He's one of the best defensive backs. I think that's what he should be targeting. Last year, like I say, he's very raw, like one real year as a starter. We're going to find out if that was a boom or bust, or like I say, but this year I think he's the real deal. So yeah, I'm looking forward to watching Maxwell outside against the best receivers in the nation, see if he can come back and be another force to be reckoned with and take the ball away multiple times.
It'd be good for them if he could. The other corner I've got 2, but one's a bit of a hybrid. So this is the guy I'm maybe going to bat the most for, who might just not see a snap at all this year. Another one who mentioned in our previews going forward, but I'm looking at Lake Ellis from UMass. So we spoke very nicely about UMass. UMass is secondary, might be one of the worst teams in college football, but they had a guy transferred to Michigan last year, won the Natty. They have a good track record when it comes to their corners, and they have picked the creme de la creme out of the FCS this year. They've picked it clean for great talent. And Lake Ellis is the guy who is probably going to start day one. So he's played for Bryant for the last 3 years. He's been a starter all 3 years at Bryant ever since his true freshman year. 1,730 snaps altogether, made over 140 tackles, minuscule sub 10% missed tackle rate there for him, 33 stops against the run. In total, he's given up 71 receptions on 142 targets. That's straight up 50% completion against him there. 5 interceptions, 17 pass breakups. But last year was a great year for him. He gave up 27 receptions on 57 targets. That's a mere 47% there. 3 interceptions, 8 pass breakups. Great against the run, 7% missed tackle rate on the year. This guy is an elite run defender. It was the problem UMass had last year. They just couldn't stop anything against the run, but he's going to come in. They've in Isaiah Rutherford. He's got an established veteran right next to him to help him acclimatize to the FBS level. He's going to be a day one starter, and I think he's going to absolutely pad his stats this year, especially against the run. He's going to get a big opportunity to impress him. Could be one of those sneaky guys who just comes out of nowhere into day two of the draft, or maybe higher if he transfers again. I think he's got another year in him if he wants to. But Lake Ellis, this is the one. He's the one I'm watching out the FCS more than anybody. I think he's going to be a great corner for UMass. Moving it on, and we'll finish with safeties, right? Who have you got in the safety position? I know who one of them is because you've given away the team already, but who have you got?
Yeah, so one of them, to fair, I shouldn't have to, this guy should be a household name already. Xavier Nwankpa, Iowa Hawkeyes, bold, proudly wears number one. 6'2", 215 pounds, and is expected or as recently I read somewhere can run a 4.39 40-yard dash. So 54 tackles, 3 passes defended, a sack, and 2 interceptions in, let's say, 1.5, 2 years as starter. Think think a smaller Kyle Hamilton, and that is kind of guy you're getting. He is ridiculous. He is already looking, people are already looking at him in the draft. Like you say, he's going to go high. He's got range. He has got side to side motor. He can cover every blade of grass if you need him to. Takes no qualms. Coverage skills, fantastic. He's transitioned from a back pedal to flipping his hips to going left or right. Like I say, it's effortless. Everything he does is incredibly smooth. He has, like I say, he's got an eyes for the ball. He doesn't fear tackling coming down into the box. He can do everything as a Swiss Army knife. He's built, he's got long frame, he's compact. He is the leader in one of the best secondaries in the country, has been marshalling the field with the likes of Riley Moss, like I say, with last year, Cooper DeJean, got a teammate as well. Like I say, they have formed a very strong bond, and all of them very highly thought of in the pre-draft process. And Xavier won't disappoint this year. Now with Cooper gone, he is going to bear a big burden. He is going to be the guy to, like say, go out there and be that kind of general on the back end, and people will fear throwing the ball his way. I think this is the year where you'll see the statistical stats step up, like I say, where he could go out there and take over a game. But he's able to do everything. Like I say, he can cover, he can tackle, he can track downfield. Like I say, he can play on special teams if you want him to. You're talking a proper prospect, like I say, as a talent, as someone that could play weak side linebacker in packages. Like I say, you could put him as a strong safety or just let him do his thing as a single high safety and marshal the field and take away the entire end zone if you want him to. So, yeah, a lot of people will know about him. And this year, all eyes are really on him this year to see if he can make that next step and become what is a premier position now in football. Like I say, this kind of true high safety is kind of coming back again now. Like I say, you need those in a passing league. So yeah, and especially with the Big Ten, a lot of eyes on Iowa now, not able to just push to get their way to the final. They're going to have to earn it. That means these guys are going to have a lot tougher schedule. So he's going to come up against some of the very best in the country.
Right. I'll do one of mine now. So this may be one of the best freshmen in the nation last year in terms of, well, in terms of
I
freshmen
think I know who this
altogether.
is then.
He's in the Big Ten. Are we thinking?
DT.
Yeah, we're thinking Dylan Tyneman here. So we're going to the Purdue Boilermakers. I love this kid. So true freshman last year. I'll read off his stats for you just to kind of put it in perspective. So yeah, he's a true freshman, played 814 snaps in his first season, graded 90 via PFF, over 90 on his run defense, had 4 pressures on the year, 116 tackles as a true freshman, 13 stops against the run, 2 forced fumbles, only gave up 5 receptions on 12 targets, had 6 interceptions and 1 pass breakup. Basically, every throw that wasn't completed against him, or it was completed, but it was to him. The guy is absolutely insane. Only committed 1 penalty on the year as well. These are insane numbers for a true freshman. So let's just go through the accolades he got. So he was the FWAA Defensive Freshman of the Year. He was 24/7 Sports True Freshman of the Year. He was the first team freshman All-American from the Athletic and 24/7 Sports. I mean, the list is as long as it goes here. He was a 5-time Big Ten Freshman of the Week, becoming the first defender in conference history to win any weekly award 5 times in a single season, appeared in every single game. He ranked third nationally in interceptions and solo tackles, leading all freshmen and setting Purdue freshman records. He led the team with 106 tackles. No player on this team made more tackles than he did. He was their leading tackler in 8 different games. Like, this guy is incredibly gifted. You take a look at his build. He's 6 foot, 205 pounds. Wasn't even a big recruit coming out of college. I think he was thrown in there via necessity because the room was just completely barren. And he's just gone on to have one of the best true freshman seasons of all time for a safety. Like I say, six interceptions on 12 targets, only 5 given up. This guy is incredible and is a reason to watch Purdue again this year. They potentially have a very good defense on their hands, but Tyneman is certainly behind that. So he's a name you need to customize yourself with quick. He is just a sophomore this year. He's going to be one of the best sophomores in college football in any position, period. Who have you got?
Last player. So feel good story. So Nick Anderson, the strong safety at Wake Forest. Now this kid started as a walk-on, had no scholarship, came on, played football, and in 2020 broke records for Wake Forest. He had a historic year. He tied all safeties in the league with 4 interceptions. He became the first Wake Forest player to have 3 interceptions in a game in a season since like 1947. And he was handed a scholarship after that year, 2020. So today, in 2 years, he's got 78 tackles, 5 interceptions, 2 tackles for a loss, 8 passes defended, and a fumble recovery. And he's gone from a guy that just tried his luck and wasn't had to pay to play, like I say, didn't go through scholarship, like I say, he was going on while trying to get his degree. And he's now going to be one of their key defenders on defense. Malik Mustafa, their strong safety, taken by the 49ers, left a big gaping hole in their middle. And Nick Anderson, former walk-on, will now be asked to fill that spot as a strong safety. I say, this guy does not shy away from anything, gives 100% effort every down, every play, and is incredibly well-rounded. Very short tackler, very confident in his abilities, and he's only 5'11". He's only like 180 pounds. He's not big. He's not heavy, but he tackles like a 6'2", 215-pound guy. Very short-handed, wraps up, uses technique, and also has got great coverage skills. He understands routes, leverage, and is able to, like I say, not be looked off by the quarterback, break on those kind of loose balls, cut off underneath, and has got a great nose for the ball. 5 picks in just 2 years. And this year, I think could have an even better year. I say could be an integral part to a Demon Deacons defense that in recent years has not been very good. And like I say, might not be good this year. It's a team that has struggled in recent years, and That's not through any lack of effort from this guy. Like I say, earned his scholarship and he's now looking on as a junior going into his senior year to cap that off and reward the team with hopefully his best season to date. And could be one of the guys that gets his all first ACC honours, all second ACC honours. Could be someone that we're talking about nationally at some point this year. So yeah, he could do really well. An incredibly good all-round guy.
Yeah, you love to see it with the walk-ons, don't you? It's always great to see them thrive. The last two guys I've got, so at safety, staying in the ACC, we've got Jonas Sanker from Virginia team, who looking a lot better going into the end of last year, and I'm very intrigued to see this year. And I think they've got a very good team going here. He's one of the big reasons on their defense. So he's going into his third year as a starter, 1,500 snaps, big veteran presence for them, but had a really big breakout year last year. As I say, for a Virginia team that finally looks like it's getting back on its feet again. 120 tackles, just shy of for him on the year from the safety position. So another who is just asked a lot of him, comes up, does a lot in the run game, 32 run stops, has just an 8% missed tackle rating. So when it comes to the open field tackles, the one-on-ones, guy's got good technique, doesn't let you get past. And in terms of the coverage safeties, he's one of the better ones. He got targeted 55 times at his safety position last year. Only 9 safeties in the entire FBS got targeted more than he did. So he's 6'1", 210 pounds. He's not, he's not someone you really want to think to throw on, but he gave up 33 receptions on 55 targets at 60%, but for safety, that's respectable. Had 8 pass breakups. So he has a nose for the ball. They use him as a blitzer as well. He had a sack and a bunch of quarterback pressures as well last year. They bring him up to the line of scrimmage to make plays there. But just most importantly, he mixes that great tackling ability with his run defense, and it makes it hard to run through that secondary of Virginia. So Jonas Sanker is one who I'm looking to take a really big year this year. He's draft eligible at the end of this year. The safety class, little met at this point. There are opportunities there for guys like him to come up and put their name in as some of the better ones in this draft class coming. So yeah, Jonas Sanker, the guy to watch out there. And then finishing it off, very last one. I've got him as a DB because he does a little bit of both. But again, another who, if you listen to our previews, you will have heard of. Talking about Michael Richard from Louisiana Tech. He's their corner slash he plays in the box a bit slash he plays safety a bit. He's 5'11", 180 pounds. He is the reigning CUSA Freshman of the Year. Hit the ground running in his debut season, got targeted 38 times. He gave up just 16 receptions. That's a meager 42% completion rating against him. Had 7 pass breakups as well. He had 3 quarterback hits as he showed promise as a blitzer. And again, the missed tackle rate's only 11% for a freshman playing at corner for the first time. That's really impressive. Again, shows how good he is when it comes to the open field stuff, when it comes to his technique, tackling, and he made his mark on special teams as well. He had a punt block touchdown. So he does special teams, he does corner, he does a little bit of everything, but he's just going to keep on going from strength to strength, especially on a Louisiana Tech team, which should, in quotes, be better this year. So he's one I'm really excited about as well. So Michael Richard, the corner from Louisiana Tech, he could have a really eye-opening sophomore season. And I think, is that all yours done now, Ryan?
Yep.
There we go. So that is our teams for 2024. Right, if you just read your list out again, just to refresh people's memories, let them know who you want them to look out for when it comes to 2024.
Yep. So I've got quarterback Max Brosma from Minnesota Golden Gophers. My running back Abu Sama III from Iowa State. I've got wide receiver Daniel Sobkovitz from the Illinois State. Tight end is Jake Bringing Stool. That's from Clemson. My defensive tackle Aeneas Peebles from the Virginia Tech Hokies. Edge rusher Princely Uman Milan, now at Ole Miss. Linebacker Yanni Karlaftis of Purdue. My corners are Amarion Oh, I forgot. Where's his last name? Oh, I've lost my sheet, so I'll come back to it. Marion, I've got also Maxwell Hairston from Kentucky. My safeties are Xavier Nwankpa from Iowa. And then I've also got Nick Anderson, the strong safety from the Wake Forest Demon Deacons.
All right, there you go. And then in terms of my team to watch for next year, so the quarterback, Nico Iamaleava from Tennessee. The running backs, like Ryan Abusama, Iowa State. Kanye Roberts from Appalachian State. Wide receivers, got Easton Messer from Western Kentucky and Kevin Concepcion from NC State. Tight end, we've got Caleb Rios from Florida. The 5 on the offensive line, we've got Valentin Sen, who's the left tackle from UConn, Wyatt Millam, who's the left tackle from West Virginia and the best left tackle in college football. Guards are Clay Webb from Jacksonville State, Josh Preeb from Michigan, and the center is Drew Kendall from Boston College. And then on the defense, the line, Henry Bryant III, the D tackle from Georgia State, Nick Scowerton, the edge from Texas A&M, and Jordan Guerrard, the defensive tackle from Louisville. The linebackers, Wayne Matthews III, Michigan State, Xander Mueller from Northwestern, Cade Uluave from California. Corners, Ricardo Hallman from Wisconsin and Lake Ellis from UMass. And then the safeties, Jonas Sanka from Virginia, Dylan Tyneman from Purdue, and defensive back, do-it-all guy, Michael Richard from Louisiana Tech. So hopefully there are a few names who might pique your interest going forward into 2024. So that is everything from us today. We've had a little discussion about the media preseason polls for 7 of the 9 conferences going into this year, and we will do the other 2 in due course. And then you've had our preseason college football teams to watch for 2024. Ryan, is there anything else you want to get off your chest before we hang it up this week?
I think I'm going to have to get on the hype and download college football EA 24. It's all I've seen people playing for weeks and talking about. I've not played a Madden since Richard Sherman was on the cover. And I think that's like 17 or 18. So
I think that's 17. I think it is,
I
if I
think so,
remember
yeah.
rightly.
So it's been a long time because Madden's garbage now. So I'm hoping this doesn't disappoint. It's all everyone's talking about.
Yeah, to be honest, the game does look incredibly good, and they're making lots of updates and that to it. Who would you take? What would it be? Arizona State to the Natty, or would it be someone else? Is there a team you'd take there just because you'll love them so much?
I take someone small, like I take triple option, give my Air Force or Army or
Oh,
Navy,
there
something like
we
that.
go.
And then I'd try run the table from there.
Oh, excellent. I mean, honestly, NC State would be the first team I'd take after. I'm not sure. I feel like who would I take? I might take UConn or somebody like that. Just, I have these personal love favorites. But yeah, it does look really good. So well done to them for getting the game pretty good. And all the videos I've seen of Florida State playing, they've lost, so it's realistic as well. So yeah, that is everything from us today. I said next show's Royal Lions UK main podcast will be back on Monday. We have a round table taking place. So for the Lions 3 preseason fixtures, we have a member of an opposing panel from all 3 teams. We're going to have 3 guests on with us who are going to give us insights and views onto their teams, how their preseason's looking, what they expect from preseason, and so we can have a little bit of a conversation about what we are expected to see when the preseason games start, which are only next week. We're nearly there, folks. And then me and Ryan will be back next week with the college football podcast. As I say, we will have a lot of content coming up. We will probably finish our Sunbelt preview off, and then we'll be moving on to guests, etc. So we have a lot of fun stuff coming, but we hope you have enjoyed it today. Hopefully there are some players you're going to take notice of now, have a little look at them. So if you want us to deep dive them a little more, tell you a little bit more about them, just let us know. Leave it in the comments and we will get back to you very quickly. But for now, just remains for me to thank Ryan. Really appreciate it. Good to do this again, and we shall see you all again soon. One Pride.